What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for January 20th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Saturday edition of the podcast, an NFC-AFC divisional playoff weekend without the Eagles for the first time in a little while. We don't have the Eagles playing this weekend, but we will manage. As always, let's start with our recap of the question of the day. I asked you, which in the past 25 years Eagles finish to a season was the most disappointing, this year aside? 44% of you agreed with me that it was the 2002 NFC Championship game against the Buccaneers. Both Super Bowl losses were tied next with 22% of the vote. There was some love for the 2003 NFC Championship game, which I could see, especially coming off the heels of 4th and 26, thinking that it was a magical run about ready to start. I actually would put the 2002 NFC Championship game over this season's collapse, to be completely honest with you. I know some of you might disagree, and that's okay. But as always, thank you for participating in the question of the day. All four of them are disappointing in their own specific way. 267-495-8531. Leave a voicemail, send a text message, get your voice heard. We will have a question of the day later in today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, just take a second, hit the subscribe button, get those subscribers up over 100. It really helps out with the algorithm and helping us grow this thing. I have a lot of big things on the horizon, between working with the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, between trying to get new sponsors, but a lot of those sponsors don't want to jump in until you get to 100 subscribers minimum. So let's do it, and the sky's the limit once we get there. So just hit the subscribe button, Jimbo_Mont. If you are listening on a podcast, just go to your YouTube app, search Jimbo_Mont, hit the subscribe button, and you are good to go. All right, yesterday I mentioned the Girl Scout cookies for my daughter Ella. I'm telling you, these people are, the soccer moms are like, it's crazy. So what we did was we created a site. It's included in the description wherever you're watching or listening to this. Click right on the link and buy your Girl Scouts to support Ella. If you're going to buy the Girl Scouts cookies, might as well buy them from Ella. Please, let's help support and take down these soccer moms. I am kidding, by the way. I did have some people comment yesterday about what's wrong with soccer. Listen, we got to take them down. That's all I'm saying. They're not evil. They're not doing anything wrong, but we got to compete with them. This is the stuff we got to compete with, so I'm pulling out all the stops. I'm calling up on you. I'm putting up the bat signal. If you are going to buy your Girl Scout cookies, buy them from Ella. There is a link in the description. They'll take you right there. Goes right to her specific site, and you are good to go. So let's take down some soccer moms today. Why don't we? You're sitting there in the cold anyway. Might as well buy the Girl Scout cookies. Let's go. But thank you in advance. I do appreciate that. All right. Good win for the Sixers. Solid win over the Magic, 124-109. Joe was just Joe. 19th straight game with 30-plus points. That is fifth all-time. If he scores 30 tonight, he will move into a fourth-place tie with one Wilt Chamberlain. It's pretty good company to keep, if I do say so myself. Didn't have to play the fourth quarter, which, the way this team has been playing, especially against, obviously, when they played against Denver the other night, it was a tighter game, and so Joe played in the fourth quarter. But against these teams that they should be blowing out like this, it's great to see them emptying the bench. You had guys scoring their first NBA points late in the game. It was incredible. So let's keep that rolling tonight against another team that they should be able to handle fairly easily in Charlotte. But this team, the way him and Tyrese have just gelled this year has been phenomenal. They have their eighth game with 30-plus points this year, 19 with 25-plus, and they are closing in on some rarefied air. In Sixers history, the duo that has the most 25-point games together is Wilt Chamberlain and Hal Greer. So that's pretty good company to be in, and it's just starting for these two. So you got to love this. This team is fun. We talked yesterday about what their options were at the trade deadline, and I hate to – and, you got guys off the bench. You got Marcus Morris. You have Pat Beverly. You have these guys that they're not stars, but they don't need to be, and they're contributing in their way. And I mean, I don't know what to do. And there's this. They're gonna have to come to this conclusion at some point. Look at what's out there for free agency next year. Look at what's available here at the trade deadline. And do you make is this the year you try to make a run at the title, or is it next year? I don't know, but it's been a lot of fun, and just enjoy the ride. Like I said, they're in action tonight against the Hornets in Charlotte. So hopefully Joe can continue that 30-point streak. I would love to see him and Maxey extend that 25-point streak, get another game with 30+, see Toby get in the action. It's just, this team is fun. The Flyers are in action this afternoon against Colorado. Another big test for them. That's tough to say. They are the third seed in the Western Conference right now. So again, another test for this young Flyers team. Are they up for it? They'll be looking for their 6th straight win. They play back-to-back today and tomorrow. But I might be flipping. Lots of stuff going on. It's going to be a big day of just sitting in front of the TV flipping between sports because so much going on. You got the NFL games. You have the Flyers. You have the Sixers. We're going to see the Harlem Wizards tonight over at the high school, which is going to be fun. Just big day for TV watching. And it's going to be cold, so nobody wants to go outside anyway. So get your beverage of your choice, whatever extracurriculars you might do. Excuse me. Put your feet up and just watch sports all day. You know what you need to do while you're sitting there watching sports, though? You got to go to phillygoat.com. They have all of your Philly sports-based apparel needs covered, including shoes. These shoes, obviously you're not wearing the shoes today because of the snow and the cold, but these shoes for the summer, get them now. They are phenomenal. They have the designs are out of this world. The names are better. They're reasonably priced. Go check out phillygoat.com. Check out these shoes. Check out, while you're there, get the Believe shirt. I'm telling you, get jacked this spring like Johan Rojas with the Believe shirt for the Phillies. It can double as a Sixers shirt. I'm telling you, just like the Ring the Bell shirt I got, you can wear it for both. Go to phillygoat.com. When you check out, use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Help me out. Help yourself out. Help them out. I know I did that out of order, but that's okay. All right, Eagles news. And I did mention it was divisional playoff game. No Eagles this year. No, and I'm hesitant to even say this because as I'm sort of processing it, and sometimes you got to think about things logically in Philadelphia because the media, as much as everybody talks about the fans, this, that, and the other, the media sometimes gets, I don't want to say they act with emotion because that's not, but they and we've talked a lot about this, but they'll manufacture a story and keep running with it. So yesterday, Sirianni was supposed to meet with Jeffrey Lurie for his exit interview. Everybody does the exit interview. Well, the speculation was he had to come up with a plan. If not, he wasn't going to save his job, blah, 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 blah. Well, everybody's upset now that there's no update on that. And truthfully, why would there be an update? What good would Jeffrey Lurie coming out or the Eagles releasing a statement saying, Nick Sirianni is our coach moving forward? What good is that going to do? The players seem to support him and have his back. If they are keeping him, why would they say that and create even more of a narrative, more of a story that, he was close to losing his job? That doesn't do anyone good, including Sirianni, the players on the team, Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, potential players coming in. That does no good. So I think this is a story that really, and sure, there may have been some sources that said Sirianni needs to present a plan, this, that, or the other. But I don't know if that's any different than any season-ending loss would have been. What's your plan moving forward for next year? And unless you win the Super Bowl, you need to have a plan on how you're going to be better next year. So I don't know if I'm buying it. And again, I might be in the minority, but everybody is taking this and basically had Nick Sirianni out the door. And whichever side you're on, you can certainly feel that way. But I'm questioning how much of the truth there was to this whole, this is do or die for Nick Sirianni. He needs to convince them to keep his job. When I mean, last year, I'm sure he had to have an exit interview and said, how are you going to get the team better this year? I mean, unless you're winning the Super Bowl, why would you have to come? Like, why would you announce, or why wouldn't you have a plan to get better the next year? And as an Eagles organization, why would they have to announce that we're keeping our head coach? And I saw somebody put this on Twitter, did the Browns come out and say Kevin Stefanski is keeping his job for next year? The reason why they did it in Dallas is because the speculation was he was going to be gone this year anyway. And they're a dysfunctional organization anyway. And Randy, there's your D word for Dallas, dysfunctional. I like it. But, I mean, thinking about it, why would they announce it? And I don't know. I'm thinking this is more of a media-created storm. And now because the Eagles called their bluff and didn't come out and announce it, the media is like, oh, blah, blah. I didn't see a peep in the Inquirer today about it. So just my thought, it achieves and accomplishes nothing for them to come out and say this, because then you're basically putting I saw somebody in the Inquirer say that by them not announcing it, it makes it the story for next year. And it only makes it the story because you are making it the story. It's not a story. Obviously, the organization backs Nick Sirianni. The players came out and were adamant. Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce, guys that might not even be here next year. Excuse me. Guys that might not even be here next year are supporting the coach. So stop making yourselves part of the story. Stop creating narratives to get clicks and get listeners. It's not, for what? And that's why people have this negative, thing about playing in Philadelphia, and it's not the fans. The fans are the scapegoat for the media who create these stories. I wonder, like I said, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm completely drinking the Kool-Aid, but was he ever in trouble? Is this just a normal exit interview? Okay, you got your exit interviews done with all your players. Now let's the three of us sit down, meet, see what the plan is for next year. Sounds pretty reasonable, sounds pretty normal to me. But here we go, the media. They were all... And I like Ike Reese, and I like Jack with him. I'm good friends with Johnny Marks. I liked when Johnny Marks was on there. But they were pissed off that no story was coming out. And it's there is no story. If they're keeping him, what is the story? There literally is no story if Nick Sirianni is going to be your coach next year. Stop making it into something bigger and then stop like Marcus Hayes did with the A.J. Brown thing. Stop making yourself a part of the story. You're not the players. You're not the team. Your job is to tell us what's going on with the team. And if they're not changing coaches, there is no story. There's no story. I don't know. I'm sure every time I talk about things like that, I'm giving myself a black X next to my name for ever working with some of these media people. But, I mean, there's no story here. There literally is no story. If Sirianni's not getting fired, there is no story. End of question. They support the coach. Move on. Let's get a defensive and offensive coordinator in here. I don't know. Seems very simple if you ask me. All right, finally, last thing with the Eagles. I did see this on... I didn't see it in any... Of course, because the Philly media outlets are all worried about Nick Sirianni. But I did see a lot of San Francisco blogs and sites, fan sites, were talking about... Apparently, Kelce in one of his interviews said that the San Francisco game is what kind of broke the Eagles. And then he's backed off of that later in the interview. And, I mean, I don't disagree. I think we can all point to the second quarter of that San Francisco game when the season sort of went south. So I don't think he's saying anything that is out of the ordinary. But, of course, the Niners fans are taking... I would love to see Green Bay beat them today. Oh, my God, I would love it. But, again, instead of worrying about their game with Green Bay, Niner fans are still butthurt over last year's NFC Championship game. They still got us on their mind for some reason. Reminds me a lot of a certain team down in Texas with a star on their helmet that seems to always worry about us when we lose and what we're doing instead of the disaster then, the dumpster fire that is your team. So I would love for nothing else to have the 49ers come out today and lay an egg against the Packers. Jordan Love, I got your back. Let's go. But that leads to the question of the day. Who are you rooting for today? There's 2 games today. You got the Texans taking on the Ravens, and then the Niners taking on the Packers. Whatever combination you're rooting for, you're rooting for both dogs. You're rooting for the Texans and Packers, both favorites. The Ravens, Niners, Packers, Ravens, Niners, Texans. Let me know who you're rooting for. 267-495-8531. Leave a voicemail. Send a text message. Rant about whatever you need to get off your chest. Am I completely missing the point of this whole Sirianni thing? Should I play nice with the Philly media in hopes of eventually working with some of them? Or am I just going to be a black sheep and a pariah to them my entire career here? But let me know who you're rooting for today. Personally, I will be rooting for the Texans and Packers, like both underdogs, and it's one of those things, and call me a hater, call me whatever you want, but if my team is out, I want complete and utter chaos. I would love for the 6 and 7 seeds to completely make the move on and make the Super Bowl. Favorites be damned when it's not my team, especially the Niners. I don't hate the Ravens, but God, I'd love for the Packers to do what they did to the Cowboys. That would bring me nothing but joy today. But let me know. 267-495-8531 gets you in. While you're buying Girl Scout cookies and checking out Philly Go today and watching sports and staying warm, check out Clashing Conferences podcast. They had their playoff edition, kind of did their last breakdown of the Eagles and Cowboys season. No more NFC East teams left, so it's all playoffs from here on out. But they're available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Doing good stuff over there, so check my boys out. All right. Finally, we're going to finish up with some Flyers the rest of the way, and hopefully they can get that game with the Avalanche to go their way today for 6 straight. But on this day in 1983, the Flyers beat the Calgary Flames 5-2. Bill Barber had 2 goals and an assist. But halfway through the second period, though, Darryl Sittler, 1 year to the day after he was traded to the Flyers, scored his 1,000th career point, becoming the 17th player in NHL history to do so. Second to do it with the Flyers, obviously Bobby Clarke was the first to score 1,000 points while with the Flyers. Sittler scored more of his with Calgary. Since that day, 2 more Flyers have scored their 1,000th point, or 2 more players have scored their 1,000th point while playing for the Flyers, Mark Recchi and Jeremy Roenick. To date, Sittler at the time was the 17th. Now 98 have done it. Sittler played little over 3 years with the Flyers, so he's mostly known for working or playing with Calgary. But he is one of 98 players to score their 1,000th point and one of 4 to do it while with the Flyers. He did have 178 points in his time with the Flyers. That 82-83 team won the Patrick Division. I think it was the Patrick Division back then. They've changed it so many times. But then they lost to the Rangers in the first round, and that whole Broad Street Bully era was starting to come to an end. I think Bill Barber and Bobby Clarke only had another year or so left as the new blood was starting to come in. They were only a couple years away from making another run to the Stanley Cup Finals with Pelle Lindbergh. But on this day, back in 1983, the Flyers beat the Calgary Flames 5-2. Bill Barber had 2 goals and assists, but the big story was Darryl Sittler scoring his 1,000th career goal one year to the day after coming to the Flyers, becoming the second person to do it with the Flyers. All right, finally, we'll finish up with our free agent who had a fresh start in Philly, and we're sticking with the Flyers. We're going to go back to Mike Knuble. He signed with the Flyers before the lockout in 2004. Missed that whole season. I believe they said he played over in Sweden that year, but came back in 05-06 and had the best season of his career. He played along on the same line with Simon Gagne and Peter Forsberg. He had career highs in goals with 34, assists with 31, and points with 65 that year. Started off well the next season before injuries. He missed some time and injuries caught up with him. Was back in time for the playoffs. Did spend 5 years total in Philly. He came back the final year of his career Had 118 goals and 111 assists. Overall, was just a good dude, a solid player, but more importantly, he was one of those guys that was a good dude. He would travel around the schools in the Philly and South Jersey area teaching people about hockey on his own dime. He did that on his own. It wasn't part of the Flyers or anything. Just kind of did that to help grow the game. He was a fan favorite, and unfortunately, he was gone from the Flyers before that 2010 Stanley Cup run. But today's free agent, who had a fresh start in Philly, ultimately becoming one of the fan favorites, was Mike Knuble for the Flyers, who signed in 2004 but didn't get a chance to play due to the lockout until 2005. On this day in 1983, Flyers beat the Flames 5-2. Darryl Sittler scoring his 1000th career point. Be sure to check out Clashing Conferences. Call the text and voice or text or call the voice line 267-495-8531. Let me know which two teams you're rooting for today. Maybe you're throwing down some money on it. I like both. I like the Packers plus the points. And truthfully, I'm leaning toward taking the Texans plus the point. I think the Ravens might have some rust. But do what you want with that. I feel like I lost you enough money on my Eagles picks this year. Sixers and Flyers both in action today. It's a great day to just sit and watch sports. It's going to be cold. Just put your feet up and relax. Like I said, grab your drink of choice, extracurricular activities if you want, and just put your feet up. But while you're at it, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mott. Let's get to 100 to open up more sponsors for us. Click on the link in the description to buy your Girl Scouts. Let's take these soccer moms down. Come on now. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Saturday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.